QUINT Beastwood here, and I'm here with Dr. Dwayne Jackson, and I've got a really interesting question for you, and I'm just gonna get into it. So what are ways that guys can go about bodybuilding and maintaining their health? Wink, wink.
Right, wink, wink. So bodybuilding is a sport that's not really associated with, increasing health so much, especially if we're talking about, competitive pro bodybuilding in the way that we do talk about it here. But there are lots of ways to make sure you're keeping track of sickness and health during bodybuilding. One of the main things I actually try to promote in all of our team athletes here is to get a blood pressure monitor. This is your gauge. This is your inside look into what your cardiovascular system is feeling every minute of the day. And so measuring your blood pressure 1 to 2 times a day, which I have all my athletes do, really gives you a gauge on where your cardiovascular health is sitting. But then also we must look at things like blood lipids, LDL cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, what the ratios are of triglycerides, because if you've got elevated blood pressure in the face of dyslipidemia, then you're really running risks for cardiovascular health consequences.
So what is dyslipidemia?
So dyslipidemia is when you see kind of shifts in your, mainly your cholesterol status. So you start seeing things like high LDL cholesterol, or the bad cholesterol, and low HDL cholesterol, or the good cholesterol. And this is commonly a problem in people that use androgens, because the androgens kind of drive that HDL down and get the LDL raised up. And if you kind of keep that in check, as well as inflammation, and your blood pressure is good, then you're not going to run risk of having these high calcium scores due to sclerotic plaques that kind of build up within our blood vessels in our heart.
So I've got another question on this topic. So you kind of touched on this, but what blood markers should people check for? And is there, sorry, that last part was repetitive, but yeah, what blood markers, what would you say are the most important ones for people to check for?
Yeah, so I mean, really, most guys, if they haven't had a physical, so to speak, from their family physician within a year, then I'd suggest going in and getting a good physical and making sure that they're testing blood lipids. So those blood lipids are going to tell us about our cholesterol levels, our triglyceride levels. Also a kidney panel, which tells us about how our kidneys are functioning through creatinine levels and urea levels, and then we get a calculation also of our EGFR, or the function of our kidneys. And then also a liver panel is really, really important in there. And you want to make sure you're getting measured AST, ALT, and GGT. And then we can kind of take a look at those to come up with whether or not, any sort of liver markers that are elevated are just due to exercise and heavy training, or they're due to something else, a sickness within the liver. Okay. If you have that with your complete blood count, you get a good picture of where your health sits and your blood pressure kind of coupled with that. And then from there, if we need to, we can dig a little deeper and probe some other markers, but those would be left for another conversation.
What would you say is the reason? Because I know in my interactions, there's a lot of people that get into bodybuilding and they don't do any blood work. They don't, what would you say the main reason for that is?
Denial.
True.
And I'm not talking about a river. I'm not talking about a river in Egypt. Yeah. Denial is the biggest one. Yeah. Yeah. If you're playing in this game, even if you're a natural bodybuilder, the heavy consumption of calories and the heavy training alone, it's a good idea to have a good indication of what your inflammatory status is through, measuring HSCRP, and as well as, like I said, those markers of liver function can also tell us how hard you're kind of pushing your body. Because when we see CK levels go up, or ALT or AST levels go up, then we know that it's highly likely that this is due to kind of muscle breakdown products. So, at the end of the day, it's always good to have a nice inside look at how things are going in your health, and blood work is kind of that first point of contact for that.
Since we're here right now, are there any products that you would recommend? Like, let's say I'm somebody and my kidneys are, my kidney readings, my creatinine is a little high, or let's say I test my liver and those things are a little high. What should I do? How do I go about fixing those markers?
Yeah, so it's, when I work with people as a health specialist here, I go through their whole diet, and generally what I notice in a bodybuilder's diet, first of all, is it's not really heavy on the vegetables. And vegetable matter actually helps in a whole bunch of different ways, including gut health, which can decrease inflammation and whatnot. But as prophylactics, I'd always suggest, using our kidney HD for the kidneys, liver HD for the liver. And these are very, very important factors that we've included in there that kind of support liver and kidney health, so that, when you're pushing the caloric levels and pushing your training, that you'll still be kind of keeping things in check, or at least doing your best to do so.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And what vegetables would you recommend?
Whatever ones you can tolerate.
Okay.
So to be honest, yeah, you want to eat a full abundance of vegetables, and there's high FODMAP or low FODMAP diets, they're really big, these elimination diets. But what I generally try to do is get my athletes, especially in the off season, to get back to a full spectrum diet of all the colors of the rainbow, so to speak. We talk about, but really integrating a lot of fiber. So you want to shoot for like 32 grams of fiber a day, as well as a lot of phytonutrients coming from berries and specific fruits. Berries are great because they're very low calorie, very low sugar, but high fiber and high in phytonutrition, which is really good for those guts and inflammation and oxidative status.
Wow, that's perfect. Thank you. I think it's helpful for me to know all this stuff, and it's going to be helpful for a lot of my clients, a lot of fans of bodybuilding, and people that are interested in making sure that they're healthy.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for any tips on your diet, you can contact me anytime at DRDN Jackson on Instagram.